So now you're going to know the basics of how electricity flows and works. This is what we're going to teach you. I'm sure in your syllabus you already covered some of the parts. So this is a practical view, this one. Then after we'll go to a virtual one where you can do it online. Because probably most of you don't have labs in your schools. So if you cannot access a lab or have this equipment, you can only use the REVEL online experimental lab. You see, so this is the advantage we have now of having online labs, physical labs. You see, so most schools which are in rural areas, they don't have access to labs. So by doing REVEL online labs, we are providing that access to those labs. You see, so this is the advantage you guys gonna get, so that when you go back to your schools, you'll be able to supply the online experiment and the physical one. You see, and also see the gap between the two, which one is better, which one is not better. You see, so first, I'm gonna put it like this. You guys can come this side, please. Yeah. So we have what we call the Ohm's law demonstrator. Ohm's law is a law that simply tells you that current in a circuit is directly proportional to voltage and inversely proportional to resistance. Yeah? So maybe one of you is asking themselves, what is current? So simply current is the flow of electrons to the circuit, or the flow of electricity to a circuit. Then also, what is, you can also ask yourself, what is resistance? By resistance, meaning if I'm pulling him and he's pushing back, is resist pull, you see? So resistance is what opposes the flow of current in a circuit. Lastly, is your voltage, which is defined by V. Voltage simply tells you that it's the force within a battery that allows the electricity to flow. So we have those three variables. As you can see here, you have V for voltage, you have I for current, you have R for resistance. Yeah? And they all have these equations. As you can see here, you have three different equations. So these equations, for instance, voltage is directly proportional to current and resistance. Then current is inversely proportional to resistance, but proportional to voltage. Then resistance is inversely proportional to current and proportional to voltage. So you can see that voltage is always proportional to all of them. So that's Ohm's law. So this is the demonstrator for you to know the equations. You'll always work with these equations in your experiments or in your circuit board. So this is how it flows. Moving from the equations, this was simply the demonstrator of what we're gonna do here in our circuit. So introducing my apparatus here, I have what I call a circuit board. As you can see it, all of you can see, right? Yes. This is what we call a circuit board. Then moving from a circuit board, I have what I call multimeters. Okay? My multimeters, they give you values. So at the moment, you can see the values are 0 and 0 because my circuit is opened, it's not closed. It's not, I haven't set it up yet, you can see. So I have what I call multimeters. Your multimeters, you use them to calculate your resistance, your voltage, and your current. Using what? Multimeters. Okay? Then your multimeter has two wires. As you can see here, we have two wires, right? So the red wire represents positive, and the black one represents negative. But in this case, this blue wire also represents the black one. Then this is positive, this is negative. All right. Then we also have these, which is we use them also as our wires. Okay? So what is a wire or this is a conductor. This is also a conductor. So what is a conductor? A conductor is any material or substance that allows electric flow. Perfect. 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 So we're going to use these ones here. You see, why are we using this kind of wire? Because this one doesn't affect, it has a low resistance. So when I'm putting it in the circuit, it doesn't resist a lot for the current flow. So it makes it easier for our current to be able to flow. So we have two types of connections. We have a series and a parallel connection. So we're going to start with which one? With a series connection. Yeah? So a series connection is more like a set, it's a line. Yeah? For instance, do you see how we're sitting now? We're in series because it's a series formation. Then a parallel is the way you guys are standing now. Parallel, because you'll never meet. So we're going to demonstrate that in this circuit board. So now I have what I call also my resistors. There's a difference. There's a resistor, there's a resistance. So a resistor has resistance. So resistors have different values, all of them. This one is 40.8 ohms, as we have seen here. Resistor, it's in ohms, the SI units. All the of them, they're in ohms. Then we also had what? Current, which is in amps. Then we have voltage, which is volts. There you go. So now we're going to connect these three resistors in series. So the order of how big or small they are, it doesn't matter as long as your connection is in series. So I'm moving from the first one, I'm connecting it inside the circuit board. Moving to the second one, connecting it also in the circuit board. They all have different values, right? Yes. So nothing's gonna choke you here. Don't be scared. And then we're connecting the last one. Then I also come here to what I call my set of batteries or cells, correct? So maybe I'm gonna take one out so you guys be able to see it. Correct. Each battery has 1.5 volts. Remember, we said voltage is the force in a battery that allows electrons to flow. So we have the positive side and the negative side, which is, those are your charges. So it's 1.5 volts each battery, correct? Then I put it back here. So for my voltage, I have batteries, I have my resistors. Then I need to know the current using multimeters, because current is the flow of electricity. So you can never have something like a battery and they call it current, but it has to allow electricity to flow. So this is my series connection, correct? Then when I move from the series connection, I want to know the current of the entire circuit and of the entire resistors. So I take this multimeter, which is, this one is for reading current, and this one is for reading potential difference, which is also called voltage. It's inversely proportional to resistance. So you see I have a lot of resistors which are here. That means the current is going to be low. So I'm connecting what? My positive wire to the positive side of the battery. And then I also connect it to the wire which is connecting the resistors. And there you have it. You get a value which is 0.02. You see how low it is. But when you have your resistors and add them, they're going to give you a very high resistance. So that's why it's so low, because the resistors are resisting the flow of current. Hence we have a low current value. Okay, so now what else we want to see is the voltage. So when you have a series connection, your voltage becomes the same throughout. Okay? So we need to check that out, if how true is it and how practical is it, because now we're doing a live experimentation, as you can see. So remember, I said this is positive, this is negative. So we have the positive, the negative side, this side. So my black one will go up there on the negative one, and this one will come here on the negative one. So there it is. Do you see what value does it give me? It's 0.5.06 volts. And it's in what? It's in direct current, because I'm taking it straightly from the battery. So that's why it's a direct current. So you can see it's 5.06. But what you should notice that we said each battery has how many volts? 1.5. How many batteries do we have? 4 batteries, which is we're supposed to get how many volts? 6 volts. So why isn't it not 6 volts, if you think? Because of resistors. Also what else? Because of resistors, that's correct. Because the resistors are preventing the flow of charge. But if I was looking directly into each battery, I was going to get 1.5. You see? Also, it also tells you that the battery that you're using has been working for a longer time. So it moved from 1.5 maybe to 1.3. Yeah, but if it was a brand new battery, I bought it now, then it was going to give me 6 volts. or it's going to be more than 6 volts because it's still powerful and strong. But sometimes, what if you get a battery which is more than 1.5, but it's written 1.5 on it? That means it's a factory fault because it can burn things or use, it can burn things. That's the only thing it can do. So if it's more, it's a faulty battery, you see. So now we have 5.06 volts. So moving from that, we want to check each resistor, how much voltage does it have, or potential difference, if you want to call it like that. So I'm moving from this whole circuit, then I'm coming to this one. So do you see what value do I have for each resistor here? I have 0.609, which is, this is the potential battery of this resistor. Then I move to another one. I get what value? No, don't mind the current. Look at the potential difference. It's 1.802. Remember, this is a series connection. So your total, remember that was our total. So when you come to each, you need to do what? To add them to find the total potential difference or the total voltage. So now it's being separated, splitted for each resistor, the potential difference. So we're moving to the third one. Do you see the values are not the same? Yes. The potential is not the same, meaning it's being shared amongst these resistors. But at the moment, we're doing a live experiment. Then when we're going to our own online experiment, that's where we'll be calculating how true this is. At the moment, you're not calculating, you're going to calculate online. Correct? So now you're being practical, so you see the difference. Yes. Yeah? So we can also do the same thing for our current. We need to also look for the values of the current for each resistor. So when you do that, you come here in this corner, because remember these cables that are here, they are the one that are coming from the current. So now we need to take them out. When I take them out, I need to close the circuit because it's open when it's like this, so I can never get any value. So I'm closing my circuit or my switch. Remember, it's positive this side, so hence I'm using the red wire. Now I've closed my circuit. So after I've closed my circuit, look what's happening. Both of these multimeters, they give me 0, 0, because I haven't connected any wire to it. So now we're coming to this one to read the values of the current for each resistor. Okay, so remember we said there's positive, there's negative. The blue one represents the black one also, which is the negative. So remember we said that current is inversely proportional to resistance. So the bigger the resistance, the lower the current. So the first resistor we have here, it's 40.8 ohms. So it's low compared to the others that we have. Then we insert our wires. So do you see what's happening? Because in the, actually let me start with the entire one. When you look at the entire connection, you have a bigger current flow. Then when I'm coming to each one of them, for instance, we come to this one. Remember, in a series, it's being shared throughout. The current is being shared. Then I move. To another one, because at the end of the day, it's still 0.0, it was 0.02. So I cannot round off. It's still not going to give me 1. So it's still the same. It's still the same. It's still less than 1. It's 0.04. So it's still the same. I cannot round it to 0.5, then it's going to give me 1. So the current throughout the series resistors is being the same throughout, but the potential difference is shared, yes. Then this one is going to be the same. So now we're moving from the series connection to the parallel connection. Remember, parallel connection, things that never meet, things that are in parallel, correct? So this is the basics of how electricity is actually flowing. Because even if I turn on these lights here, it's the same flow. But now it's in a small scale for you to understand. Then when I switch it on, there is going to flow the same way. Because if you can look at these lights, they're in which form? In series. But these two, they're in parallel. So you see how practical it is? Yes. I'm not saying go home and take off lights. No risk, don't do that. Even though you're a scientist, but then some things have limitations. Now we're taking out our resistors to connect them in which? In parallel. Oh, also, remember when you saw from the robotics first, those robots used what? They use batteries, you see. So a battery has what? It has chemical potential energy. So this chemical potential energy is being transferred to the conductor to produce electric flow. The flow in the conductor is the flow of electrons coming here, then they flow throughout. So this was the battery that was used by the robot that you guys saw, which you used here, you see. So it uses a battery also, like these batteries. So it produces chemical energy, and then it converts it to electrical energy. Because the batteries, they help us in terms of converting energy. Even a car, it also uses a battery, but the bigger ones because of the voltage, so that the car will be able to move. So it's from chemical, electrical, and mechanical energy. Hence, it's always important to note that even your younger brothers and sisters, they don't eat batteries or play with batteries because they have chemicals there, which is dangerous for them. Also, don't play with electricity. Even though you know Ohm's law, doesn't mean that you're an insulator. You also are conductors. So now we connected it in which form? In parallel. But it's not complete because I haven't connected my wires. It's just there. So we're starting with the first one, which is the one that's here on top. This 40 ohms is the one with the lowest resistance among the others. Yes. Then it's 40 ohms, 177, and 120. So the highest is 177. So from the start here, what we're doing now, we want to check for the current in the first resistor. Remember, this is still alone. That means it's still in series. So we're just checking for the current for it alone. Remember, blue is black. Black means negative. There you go. So it shows me there current for that resistor. Remember, we said this one has the lowest resistance. So that's why our current is kind of high. You see, it's 2 something. It's kind of high. So now I'm connecting them into parallel, which is I need to join forces. At least you can never be choked by a battery, but don't chow it because it consumes chemicals. There you go. So I'm going to do for each one by one so that you all understand. That's it. So these two, they are connected in parallel. There. So I'm looking for the current now for the first one. Remember now, since you are in parallel connection, the potential difference in parallel is the same, and the current is the one that's being shared. So it's vice versa or inverse to the one. But the principle is the same. Voltage is directly proportional to current, and resistance. Current is inversely proportional to resistance. Resistance is inversely proportional to current. So we're looking for the first one. There it is. So now we're going for the current for the first one, which is it's fine. It's still reading it like this, which is okay. Then coming for this second one. So these are the basics that you guys have been doing in class, correct? Yes. Yeah. Do you also do the practical ones like this? No. So after I'm showing you this one, you'll be able to also do it on your own, practical, yes. Are you good with calculations? Or sort of?
Sort of.
Wow. Yeah, to be confident. Wow. Wow. So I'm coming to the second one. Yeah? Okay. Yes. So the second one, it also You see it has dropped because this one has the highest resistance and now it's dropping. Remember that one, it was 2. You see this one is dropping to 1 point something. So nullity, which is it's inversely proportional to this current. Hence it has dropped this much. Because we said current in this case is being divided. Yeah, well, it's being divided. And the current flow, remember, it flows from the positive. Electricity or current flows from the positive to the negative. So when it comes here, it splits. Correct? Yes. Goes this side and goes this side. But the final meeting point is that side. So when you come back to the side, it also comes back because it's joining the series connection. So hence this one had 2 point something, had a higher value of current. But now it's being splitted so that it can also apply voltage to this one. So now we're joining the last one with the other two. So it's always important to know that your connection is opened and when it's closed. So now we're doing for the current. After the current, we're gonna do for the potential difference. With all these 3 variables that we have. So now I've calculated I've shown you guys the how to find the current when it's parallel. So I'm showing you how to find the potential difference when it's parallel. So we do the same procedure or same protocol where we connect our red for positive, for negative. So it's always important to make sure you look at your battery and know which side is the positive side and the negative side. Because usually in cars, can you see when they say they put jumpers, those jumpers also have positive and negative. But it's a bigger battery in that case. Usually they have 12 volts. But this one is 1.5 volt each. So now we've moved, we're looking at the potential difference for the first resistor, which is 0.4.16. Remember, this potential difference and resistance and current are directly proportional to each other. So the potential difference is directly proportional to the resistance and directly proportional to the current. So we're moving to the second one, the one with the highest resistance. So, do you see? Because it goes back to the principle that it's being the same throughout. Then the current is the one that was shared. So it's still 4 point something, same as that one. We're coming to the last one. It's still 4 point something. So you see of the Ohm's law that current in a circuit is proportional to voltage and inversely proportional to resistance, as I've shown you firstly here in the Ohm's law demonstrator. So we have proved the law that it's correct and it's accurate. So now after this, you guys need to access to these tablets that you see here, where we'll be doing this online on the remote and virtual lab. Remember, not all of you have access to the labs. So now we have a software and access where you'll be access to the online lab. Then in this lab, that's where you'll be able to do your experiments. This, you see what we've done here? We're going to calculate it now online. Correct? Thank you. So now we can sit down. Then only I need 3 people per tablet. Then you're gonna connect your tablets whilst I access you to the remote lab. So you can be seated, then we can calculate. Okay, no problem.
Okay. Just on that point, thank you very much, Mr. Bomboshe. Let me just quickly make this announcement. Learners, we would like you to fill in this evaluation form. It's very important. We would like to know how what we have just done is compared to what we are going to do now online. I will also invite educators to participate in this, because they are the ones who are going to cascade this information to learners. So please, educators, you are now learners today. Thank you. I would like just to make this. I'm going to leave it with, can I leave it with you, sir? So that at least you can be able to distribute it when done. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Guys, so we're moving now to the online part, the calculation part. Do you all have calculators or? You have brains for days.
Brains for days.
Brains for days. So here I'm gonna give you the manuals of the experiment where you'll be calculating. It's not complicated, it's something that we'll do together, just to verify that what we have done here, when you calculate it, it becomes true. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I need 3 pair. I'm gonna connect them after.
So at least give
Give them the group. Yeah, three pair. Doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be the same school. The way you are seated, you just share. Okay, thank you. Yeah, you can browse through it at the moment. Okay. Oh, you're sitting here.
it's one transport. Please organize yourself into groups of 3.
Yeah, but at the moment, just so can you see from these papers that what I have spoken about is already written down in this case. It's not being spoken out loud, it's written down. It's the same basic principles of Ohm's law, but now we're doing an experiment online. Yeah, there's more. You can pass as much as possible. Yeah, you can have each of you. I think I've made more copies, a lot of them. So now I'm just going to connect you guys to the system for the text. No problem. I'm going to use the broadcasting. Yeah, and of course make it as fun as well. So due to network connection, we're gonna focus on this one. At the moment, can you all look? Yes, read through, it's fine, you can read through. There's a part where we're going to answer and explain everything. But you're currently having network problems for your tablets to connect, so we're gonna use the screen. Everyone is sorted now? Yeah. So when you look through that, you can see that this is the experiment that we are all going to do online. So from the first page, as you can see there, on the first page, yes. So as you can see, we have the theory there on the first page, which tells you about what's happening, which is we're being theoretical now. Remember, we were practical here, now we're being theoretical. Then after moving from theoretical, we apply each and everything that we have studied in the theory here on the online experimentation lab, correct? So if you can see here, components of an electric circuit or electronic circuit can be connected in series, parallel, or series parallel. So is there anyone who can read for us the first part of the theory? Please, please, please. Sure, there's a volunteer there.
Components of an electrical circuit or electronic circuit can be connected in series, parallel, or series parallel. Components connected in series are along a single conductive path, so the same current flows through all of the components, but voltage is lost across each of the resistance. In a series circuit, the sum of voltages consumed by each individual resistance is equal to the source voltage. Components connected in parallel are along multiple paths so that the current can split up. The same potential difference is applied on each component.
So thank you very much, sir. So what you've read there is what we've done. Can you hear it? It's everything that we've done. So you're simply going to browse through. This calculation part is something that you're going to do on your own time to see if you really understood what you've done. So here we have this, which is, we call it REVEL, which is, it's an online, it's a remote virtual lab. Remote virtual lab. So here we have a lot of different experiments that we do for chemistry, physics, and so forth. So which one we're working on now? We're working on Ohm's law. Can you see? So this is the kind of lab that you're going to have access to. Then select the particular experiment that you want to do. So now we're selecting the one we want to do, which is Ohm's law. So now I'm accessing the lab. There I've accessed the lab. You see the first component you see? It's a battery, what we spoke about. So I'm moving to access the lab. Okay, it's reserving. So, you know, there's always internet problems, so you need also to consider that. So now we're going straight to observations of our Ohm's law. So this is where you're simply going to observe your calculations that we did, how practical and realistic it is. So it's still loading, as you can see up there. Going to the observations, there you go. So here in this part we have the observation of what we did. Remember we said we first have 4 ohm resistor which we connected in series. Remember you saw it there, we connected it in series. So now since we connected in series, we want to see the values that we are calculating there. So since it's still loading, let me see, observe. So it simply shows you the screen view of our multimeters. Remember we said this one calculates the potential difference, this one calculates the current. So for this only resistor that you see here, this is the value of the current we have. And for this one is the value of the potential difference. Remember you see here it's 6, meaning the batteries that we had, they were full at that time. You see? So and the resistance is very low. So now we need to change it to add more resistors. So now when you add more resistors, you simply say change, then it shows you the value. So I'm adding all the 3 resistors that we had. This is the addition part, because you know as soon as it says addition, it tells you that the connection is in series. But when it's division, it's the other way, parallel. So now I've seen my, then after you've changed, you need to say observe, so that it can process the things that you've done. Okay, built-in internet problem. Okay, so at the moment my Wi-Fi connection is kind of low, so you're supposed to be able to change. After I've changed the connection here, then I say observe, you'll be able to see the difference. So you move from series connection as you've seen, because this one is the first resistor that we did, which was 40 ohms, correct? Yes. So I'm supposed to change it, there it is. So now can you see on my circuit view? So you'll be able to access this in your phone, in any form of social platform, phone, laptop, any kind, and then do this. So you can see here now I have my connection that we did there in what? In series. So if you can see in series, we said what's happening to the potential difference. It's being shared in the entire resistors in the circuit. Then the current is being the same throughout. So this proves that, because you can see the total. If I read for each as the way that I did the practical, it's going to give me maybe 2 point something. Then I come to the other one, it's going to give me 1 point something. Come to the other one, depending on the value of the. So this is how it is. So this is the total, as you can see, is the total for the entire circuit, and it's being connected from this point and this point. As I've mentioned, red is for positive, black is for negative. So we're moving from this point, we're going to the parallel one. So my parallel connection, I'm simply changing. Then I'm putting all the resistors as we've seen before. Here they are. Remember, when you're calculating this, you're simply dividing, correct? You divide, you divide, you divide. So in your tablets, you're supposed to be doing that. But at the moment, due to the connection, which is not a problem, then you have your papers, which are here, which also specifies what you're seeing there. So now my connection has been changed. Look how quick it was. Can you see it has been changed to parallel connection, where I've changed all my resistors and put them in parallel. So now we're going back to our multimeters. Remember, the other one is reading current, and this one is reading potential difference. You see, it's kind of still reading even now, but I'm not touching anything. You see, it's online, it's doing it on its own, I'm not doing it. So it's something you can also have access to. It's the advantage and the benefit that we have now to use the remote and virtual lab, which is you have a homework, you can do it in your room instead of being in class in the lab. You see, then you come back with the solutions. So now, can you see what's happening? We have the potential difference. Remember, our potential difference, when it's in parallel, is it shared or is it the same throughout? Then what happens to the current? It's shared. Okay, correct. So this is what's happening. So I've collected all of them. So this is the remote virtual lab you guys are going to access so that you'll be able to do the calculations. So from this point, these are the evaluation forms we spoke about. So in the evaluation form, you'll be able to tell us or convince yourself which one is the better one. Is it better to do it on live or is it better to do it online? What if there's no electricity? How are you going to do your practical? You're going to charge your phone and do it in your phone. You see? So you can do it with or without a computer, with or without a lab, but using your phone. Or without your phone, you can use your computer when you're at school. You see? So as I am here, for instance, I can access another experiment as I am here and you guys are in your school, but the teacher can only give you a laptop or anything to access and project it. Then you'll be able to do an experiment online. For instance, there are mostly chemistry experiments, which is they're difficult to do them online because they need you to taste or smell the experiment. So it's only the disadvantage you can get because you won't be able to smell it. Therefore, those ones that need you to be practical. But in terms of the physics side, if you cannot do it by your hands, you can do it online. But these are the advantages of the remote and virtual lab. So on the evaluation forms, you'll be able to tell which one is the best option. I'm not saying choose, but you'll be doing it for your own good. Most of you are smiling because they want the online one, you see? But again, it's going to affect you also because you won't be practical, which is a disadvantage. So it's best to know both. Be virtual and also be practical. Remember, this one is a theory. Remember when you read here, this is theoretical and also there's practical. So the key is know both of them. Thank you. I think if you guys have any questions, you can ask, then you can be able to assist you. Did everything make sense? Yes. Perfect. Are you gonna pass? Eh? There's someone saying no out there. There's someone saying no. I'm sure whether you're the one who breaks everything at home. But that's the advantage about science. You can be practical and theoretical. But the advantage is that whatever you do theoretically, you also have to say it, which is, it makes more sense when you say it. So, yes, I think we're done, guys, for the day. So you're gonna fill in the evaluation forms.